Irashaimase. Hello and welcome to Fataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fataris. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this week we have Operation Steel, a roguelite shoot 'em up. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. From developer Undermog Games, Operation Steel released for the PC in January of 2022. Now in June of 2024, it's available for the Nintendo Switch, and that's the version we're looking at today. This is a title I've had a lot of fun with so far. It's a horizontal scroller with a lot of roguelite elements. So each run will be unique. You have procedurally generated stages, a branching path system similar to Darius, and then a lot of weapons and items that will add some unique flavor to every run you do. Basically, if you like roguelite shoot 'em ups, this is a title I definitely would recommend. But you don't just have to take my word for it. There is a demo available for Steam, so you can check it out that way as well. Here we find ourselves at the main menu. Under New Game, we can begin a new run. And in New Run, this is your normal mode. We also have Novice for easy. Then there's Time Attack, which is setting the highest score as possible in a short time frame. Completing a run will unlock Hard Mode and Boss Rush. Once you've selected your mode, you can select your ship. We have one ship available by default, and then you can unlock the second ship through some gameplay. Ship selected, now we have our destination selection. So if you were thinking of this in a Darius style grid, you've got your planet A and your planet B, so we'll pick our planet A. And things just kind of branch off from there. I do like the visualization of the ship flying towards your selected planet. So this is a horizontal scroller, so your movement is pretty standard for that. We do have a shot, and there are some nice accessibility options in the game itself. One of them is to turn on auto fire. But there are a couple things that would make that undesirable, and I'll get to that here in just a second. We also have a button for focus movement, and that will slow down the ship's movement speed so you can easily dodge around some of the crazy bullet hell patterns that some of the bosses especially will throw your way. There's also a button for our bomb, and we'll use those a little bit later. And should you select or get an active item, there's one more button for the active item, such as this squadron that we picked up earlier. The squadron's pretty neat because it sends a wave of fighters at the enemies that will both deal a decent amount of damage and block enemy shots. It's actually pretty useful. There are a lot of other great active items you can use, as well as a lot of passives. So defeating our first mid-boss, we have a selection here. We're doing pretty good armor-wise, so I'm going to take the rockets. It basically adds just a straight fire rocket to our arsenal. So as we defeat enemies, the enemies will drop coins or gems that are worth credits in the shop that we'll see after we complete a stage. If you want to collect all the coins that are on the stage at one time, then you just need to let off your fire and those coins will come flying into the ship itself. So some of the weapons in the game are charge weapons. So you basically let off the fire, the charge builds up, and then when you fire again, it will be a full powered charge. Examples are the charge weapon and the shotgun both act this way. So that's one of the reasons why the auto fire that's in the accessibility might not be as desirable. In addition to that, we also have that ability to collect up coins by letting off the shot. So that's up to you. As far as some of the other accessibility options, you can dim the background. It's also possible to turn on the hitbox, and I've done that just to make it a little easier to tell where the hitbox of the ship is. So I do appreciate a game that takes these into consideration. So we find ourselves fighting the first boss. You might have noticed the name of this boss is Gemini. The bosses are themed after the 12 zodiacs, so I do really like the theming, and in the case of this one, I feel that it does a good job of showing that off. It's a twin fighter that's joined in the middle. We've taken out the bottom part, taken out the top part, gives us yet another selection. So here we could choose the three-way shot, more credits, or speed up. Just to vary things up, we'll take the three-way. It's possible to swap between weapons, so you can actually have as many weapons as you would like, But ideally, it's probably best to pick a couple and focus on upgrading them in the shop. After you complete the stage, we have a summary of what percentage of enemies we took out, how many credits we found, and bonuses for all the associated elements of that. There's also a star map that we're looking to complete that you can see there in the bottom right. The shop itself is here, and here we can actually do quite a bit. So if we've taken some damage, you can usually have a repair option here, but we can buy additional bombs, we can buy a speed up, we could buy the bore or the crossfire for these weapons, or we can choose to upgrade the shots that we have. So ultimately, I'm not the biggest fan of the three-way shot itself. I actually feel the blaster itself does a better job. So we're going to go ahead and sell the three-way, upgrade the blaster, upgrade our rockets, and just for some variety, we're going to add the bore, and that basically leaves us out of money. Leaving the shop, we'll jump into the next stage. And once again, we have a destination selection here. If you still have a map piece available to pick up from a stage, it will be represented here under the planet's name, so we'll go with our planet C. So one thing that I haven't noted so far is there is a scoring mechanism that you can take advantage of from defeating certain enemies. As you defeat certain enemies, they'll give you a 10% score bonus, and that bonus adds up to 100%. So you're basically scoring double points for every point that you receive at that point. However, if you take damage, you'll lose a certain amount of that percentage, and it will build back up again as you defeat enemies. So I do appreciate that the game rewards you with higher score for overall better gameplay. And that basically is Operation Steel served up for your enjoyment. So unfortunately, one problem I did have with the game, so this is a reflection on the Switch port, is I actually had a lot more of the game unlocked, but unfortunately before I got set up for recording, my save was unfortunately deleted and I wasn't able to recover it. So this is basically more or less a fresh save, building things back up. So here we have a poison shot, a weapon up. Let's take the weapon up so we can have a more powerful bore, which is basically a massive laser. So I'm not sure if that was necessarily the Switch itself or the Switch port that was a problem there, but do keep in mind there are some issues with this port. As far as some of the other minus flavors for the game, another one is that there's no online leaderboard for the Switch version, whereas there are for the Steam version, even as going so far as to have a leaderboard for the demo, which was kind of fun to play around with. Another issue I do take with the game is there are a fair number of items, this one being a roguelite, but some of them there's no description available and I couldn't really figure out what they're supposed to do. And then the last part of the minus flavors I have is this is a roguelite, so it would be great if there was a little more ability to build your runs, whether that be you can get additional weapons or items from the mid-bosses as well as the bosses themselves, but in the first stage we do get one cargo drop, and it would have been great if there would have been more cargo drops throughout the course of the run to help build up the strength of your particular run itself. Instead, we're left with just the bosses as well as the shop, and if you aren't doing particularly well and taking damage, a lot of times you have to choose the armor up or the repairs when you defeat a boss or a mini-boss, thus limiting how much you can power up and the various selections you can choose in the shop itself. So second boss defeated here. We did take some damage, so I could take homing or I could take armor up. For our purposes today, let's just go homing. But as far as the plus flavors are concerned, so one of the things I really like about this game is that whole branching path. So you have that whole map that you're moving your way down, and I think that's just a lot of fun to have a game with that kind of depth to it. Then the shop itself is another area that I think is great. You have all these items you can pick up, and you can choose to go and upgrade them and increase their power here. Or if you don't like what you've picked up, you can sell them here. Yeah, actually having that option to sell items to be able to get other items instead is, in a roguelite, for me, is just awesome. Then you have all those themed bosses. So just the different Zodiac themed enemies really adds another great bit of flavor to this game itself. And there's, at the end of the day, we have that great roguelite feel where each run is unique. Some runs will be great, some runs won't be winners, and you can kind of like pick out what kind of customization you like to go with. Hopefully you'll get like those items on a run, but it's always great to try something new as well. So there we have it. Operation Steel, a solid recommend from the chef. Alright, that'll just about bring us to the end of this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful week yourself, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.